Thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with us today. Jim, can you kind of like tell us about your music and kind of tell us about your artistry?
Yeah, sure. So my music is like a grotesque form of bass music. At this point, it is at least, but it's heavily focused on this glitch aesthetic, mainly from artists like Vitsk, VAETXH, I think,
Hmm.
and Vogue, and artists like Edit, and also I'm also very inspired by French post French house, or what it's called, like Sebastian from the Banger Records. Like this philosophy with taking a sample and just make it into something completely different and make unique sound design from that. So basically, my music is very harsh at this point, but I'm trying to make some softer tracks that without making it all ambient, because yeah, I I feel that's a bit too easy sometimes.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things and that's honestly like one thing that I really appreciate about your music is, and if you guys have ever seen my stream of taking something and completely destroying it and figuring out how to put it back together into something that's interesting, and so that's a huge reason why I was like, oh man, this guy's like right up my alley, because we're literally trying to do the same thing, even with different,
Yeah.
maybe so with different voices and all that. The one cool thing that you told me about that that nobody else knows is that for the most part you don't even use granular synthesis, yeah, or at least not like a
Um.
granular VST plugin, because Ableton obviously has like granular processing built into it.
Yeah. I I used to use the Max for Life granulator, but uh, but not really anymore because it was too glitchy. Kind of ironic, I guess, but it kind of crashed Ableton too many times. So I kind of stopped doing that, and mainly I just use warp modes and yeah, warping stuff. And I don't know. I really like messing around with automation through LFOs and envelope followers and all that.
So
And then we have the the grain delay. That's that's golden.
yeah, that's man, that's I feel like grain delay is one of the most underused effects that is available today.
Yeah.
Copycat actually turned me on to that when I used to do lessons with him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like
Oh,
really,
cool.
you want to make a bass sound awesome? You just, make something with a notch filter and move it around, and there's your movement." And I was like,
Mm.
"Wow!" But I mean, under the hood, it's obviously like a time delay, and then also like maybe like a blur or like kind of stereo thing,
Yeah.
but it's such a neat plugin that I hope today like more people go and explore with it, because again, I still can't believe that hardly anybody uses it.
Yeah. It's I heard Pope talk a bit about it, and he thinks it's like one of the most underrated. Um, I think I don't want to like put words in his mouth, but yeah, he speaks very highly of the grain delay too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't think that you've come to my streams and stuff yet, which is totally fine, but I kind of recently switched over to Bitwig, and
Oh,
Bitwig doesn't really have anything like that other than a time delay. I guess you can kind of like try to manipulate a chorus,
yeah,
and
kind of, but yeah,
it's not the same though, so
no,
I tend to reach towards Portal for all of my granular processing things, just because it has that rhythmic engine built into it. So, but sometimes that's undesirable, and I don't know.
yeah,
I do miss Ableton. There's a lot of great things about it, but yeah, it's cool. But it's still, even still, within all this stuff, processing audio in general in such a way, because like every single DAW has some kind of audio processor on it. So I think that anybody will be able to take some of these ideas away.
yeah,
With this stuff, earlier this week I was working on this track right here, or this kind of some of these ideas. So everything that he has are stems that I sent to him, which I think I'm actually just going to give it out to everybody on the Discord, so that way you guys can mess with it. And the stems aren't even that large, but That way, I want everybody to be able to not necessarily follow along, but just kind of have some reference to whatever he's going to do, which he doesn't even know what he's going to do, but that's kind of half of the fun.
Yeah, definitely. And also just cards on the table. I don't use VST plugins. I've never really dug into that realm. So everything I do should be possible just with Ableton. I do use a fair bit amount of Max for Life, but that's mainly just the LFO and yeah, the envelope follower.
That's freaking
Um,
crazy. What are you? Some kind of wizard? So yeah, so today he's going to be basically walking us through, different kinds of resampling and stuff. But if you don't mind me asking, like, what's your like overall philosophy on taking something? Are there specific samples that you look for? Is there specific audio, or is it really like you just feel like you can take literally anything and make something usable out of it?
um, I'm kind of scared with all this copyright stuff and all that. So I mainly just sample drums from conventional music.
Hmm.
I'd like to sample like some kind of weird audio clips from YouTube videos and all that, just to have like a kind of a gag in the track or something. But that's not really rhythmical stuff.
One of the coolest things that I found out was that there was actually like a larger community than I thought for this kind of music. And lo and behold, like right before you and I started talking about doing this podcast, I released this thing on YouTube, and I was like, "Yo, what's your guys' biggest production struggles?" And I swear to you, like half of them was like IDM stuff, resampling, this and this, this and this. And for me,
Okay.
I've done a lot of coverage over like resampling bass, but
Yeah.
doing stuff in this world isn't something that I've really kind of elaborated on a lot, or at least the way that I do it is a lot different than the way that you do it, because I tend to use a lot of plugins.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. I mainly when I write with people about production and all that, they also use a lot of plugins, but yeah. But mainly I guess it's because I have this slow computer from 2012, and when using too many plugins, it just kills it basically.
Fair enough.
So yeah,
Yeah, you're definitely like inspiring me, because like half of the time that I'm streaming Bitwig, because it's like super unoptimized for VSTs and all that, I'm like sitting there getting frustrated about to punch a hole through my laptop. Like, ah man, they can't handle all the processing that I want to do. So you just made me realize how spoiled I am. But yeah, cool, man. Well, I guess, do you mind just kind of like taking a look at some of these samples that, or I guess these stems that I sent you, and
yeah,
then kind
sure,
of maybe, just, if you can, like gather some ideas, and then let's kind of like go from there. And for you guys,
yeah,
in the chat, if you guys have any questions for him or anything, I don't know if you have chat pulled up. I can always narrate that for you
yeah. I have
since
the
you're.
chat here. Yeah, the
Okay,
chat here.
yeah, yeah. If you guys have questions and stuff, then feel free to ask, because he's here to hang out with us. So, um, make him feel welcome.
Yeah, okay. So I kind of skimmed it through here earlier today, and I this one over here, like super complex bassy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just take this bite here. I don't think I want it in the 70 BPM, so let's put it up to like 160 or something. That's a little quicker, maybe. So another thing with my projects, they get messy real fast. So that's just a warning there.
That's totally fine. And the thing about this, and feel free, you can keep working in it, but the thing that I've noticed about this, whenever you make these kind of sounds, is that like they don't really have a name. They're just a sound. So you
Yeah.
don't even know what to label your tracks. But I think for me at least, generally, like this stem that I sent you is probably 20 or 30 sounds that are fit within 4 tracks, because I actually resampled like Foley drums with the vocoder.
Yeah, cool. I tend to do that too. To have like this project with 50 stems or something, but the track that I made out of it is like 5 stems, because I've boiled it all down and resampled the master and boiled it down again and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it gets kind of hard making stems. times. Um, okay, so let's just try and make this rhythmic. So there's a little cheat here with the beats warp mode, because you can like quantize the stuff and then just like do this, and then it's basically like an auto pan, but only in the sound, so you can consolidate it easily and all that. And then let's make I don't know, some rhythmic stuff out of that or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, so like also something I've noticed is whenever you start like a track or a clip somewhere that's not the beginning, the warp modes kind of recalculate. So we have this sound here, but when I go here, the sound's different, right?
Interesting.
Um, so I like this one here, so I can just cut it there, and then it kind of saves that. So it recalculates from there, and
Wow,
I
I
just
never knew
do
that.
this randomly.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
um, so I'm not sure if I want to make this into drums or like a heavy bass. It is pretty much a heavy bass at the moment. And another thing is that I'm part of the odd cult. So so basically every track uses odd, which is just a multiband dynamics preset that just pushes the sound very far, um, which is pretty cool. Uh,
So whenever you're making these kinds of sounds, like let's just pretend like you're, I guess, remaking a bass out of these kind of like low end sounds anyway, right? Um,
yeah,
whenever you start developing something, like, is there some kind of mindfulness that you have regarding tonality, or do you just kind of make sure that it has low
no,
information?
I generally when talking tones in my music, they aren't really they're non-existent kind of,
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, kind of when I want to make a bass, I try out which tone feels best, kind of. Uh, but music theory isn't my biggest strength. I must admit that.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I guess like that's honestly like what you just said is really important to keep in mind, because what a lot of people do, myself included, is myself will try to make something like this and then add like a sub under it or something to force it into a key. So,
yeah,
instead, like kind of just throw all that out the window and then, push the low end up and make sure that it has that. And I think that this can also kind of be a liberating way to generate bass lines, because it's not just a sub, and you're going to have a complex, intricate rhythm that's going to be playing something much different.
yeah.
State of Mind says, do you typically layer these sounds or do they stand as is with the exception of TP additional processing?
Um, I tend to lay a lot of sounds, and uh, but yeah, I don't think it's typically though. It kind of goes both ways. It depends on how finished I feel the sound is, I guess, which is very subjective.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
mean,
I kind of wanted to make drums out of this, which yeah, the beats mode is just very great, very good for that. Then with some processing, I need
and something to keep in mind too, whenever you're trying to figure out whether or not something needs that, is, you can always pull up like a frequency analyzer or something and just kind of look at try to like, I think in my opinion, I would try to identify what the purpose of the sound is supposed to be, and then try to adjust accordingly. So like if it's a bass or something and I just want low end, then, if it doesn't have enough low end, then you can just do like what he did, which is like an EQ spike followed by an OTT.
Yeah,
If it's supposed to be like a transient with a drum that needs some low end, but it needs some more high end, then you can kind of consider layering. Or if you want the sound to be full, then that's kind of where that personal taste comes in.
yeah. Um, uh, a limit method I kind of use is maybe this sample is not really good for that though. 2 seconds. That's a growl too. Oh, shit, it's here. So we have this percussion stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to pitch this down, a lot of the high end kind of yeah gets lost because it's pitched down. Um, so what I tend to do is just duplicate this layer and pitch this one up again, and then just make it using the tones and EQ3 and grouping these two together and maybe compress them a bit. Um, that kind of gives the high end back.
Oh, cool.
Um, because I tend to like record something and then just stretch it out and then pitch it an octave down, and then you get this very down pitched sound, which kind of gives it a lo-fi feel.
Yeah.
But my idea with this project is I wanted to be super hi-fi because my earlier project was very lo-fi and warm and all that, very dusty too. So I kind of wanted to force myself to make hi-fi music, and then yeah, glitch music is just the most hi-fi I could think of.
Yeah, awesome. And then honestly, I'm glad and I appreciate that that's kind of like what you're going for too, because I think one of the biggest questions that I even asked you myself and that everybody in the chat wants to know is like, how do you how do you take these glitch sounds and stuff and make them sound more aggressive and more upfront while not just like totally destroying it with distortion? Because like I'm definitely on the train of there's no such thing as too much distortion,
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
but I also would be the first to admit that I might not know how to control it, without it just sounding too sharp or it sounding like just.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I feel I use very much distortion, uh, but mainly the distortion I use in the saturator is the Synoid filter. That's for drums. But to get this very digital, nasty kind of sound, I use the reductive, bit reductive to like 4. Oh, it's like
Mm,
all this kind of stuff, right? And then I take that and resample that and maybe cut some of the way too broken stuff out of it, and resample that and maybe do something else with it, you know.
yeah, for sure.
Um, this is very. I can't even. Okay, so we have a bit of percussion now, I guess. I like this one.
Yeah, it sounds
That
nice
could be a
and
snare. Yeah.
metallic. Yeah. Pew pew, motherfuckers.
Deep group music, you know.
It's the best.
There's still a bit too much high end in most of this stuff, but that that usually tends to blend in with everything else uh, because of yeah layering and all that. So let's try to make this a good snare. Oh, it's okay. I guess we are doing 6 volts now. Yeah. All right. So when I mix snares, it's kind of a hit or miss. I think um, most of my production is the tracks, for example, that I showed on the stream, on the Vogue stream. Um, the first one, no, the second one, was a resampling from another track I made that I wasn't very satisfied with. So I've made this whole track and kind of thought it sucks after I've listened to it for a few hours. And then a few days later, I just put the whole track into Ableton and broke it down again, kind of, you know,
Hmm.
made all kinds of stuff out of it. And then it ended up sounding much better suddenly.
sometimes like
which
you
is
have to like remake the same thing like 3 or 4 times for you to get the idea that you're happy without, right?
yeah, definitely. Um, but the fun thing about it is that you can make it like completely different when resampling it that much. And so the things that are left for from the original track is only the texture and kind of yeah a few traces of it, but everything else is just kind of wrangled or
Right.
something.
Yeah. Now, whenever you're making this stuff, um, and this might be kind of a difficult question, but I kind of try to ask everybody about this, but do you feel like, do you ever feel like you have a plan or an imagination about like whenever you're developing a theme or a concept, or is everything like experimentation until you see the big picture?
Everything is experimentation, really.
Fair
Uh,
enough. For sure.
yeah, it is very hard for me to see the final product when starting out on a track. And I feel it's been like that for most of my music,
Yeah, same.
which
And
is pretty interesting actually.
I think
Um,
like something that is one like potential rabbit hole too, that and something that I haven't particularly mastered myself is like whenever I make something, it's cool to make a phrase and stuff, but I always feel like it needs some kind of theme or idea. And so like that's one thing that I feel like I'm actually really inexperienced at for this kind of music, of being like, all right, well if it's atonal and it kind of like doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end, or you know, it's just noise. Like how does one kind of tie everything together? And I'm not saying that you have to answer that question because it's always going to depend, but
yeah, definitely.
I definitely just want to kind of like throw that out there as like that's kind of where I feel like a lot of us are at with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know really. So mainly when I have like this loop, I have um, like I mentioned earlier, is I have a lot of tracks that I haven't used or anything because they're all steps in the final resampling that is the loop. So I kind of go back and see if there was something else interesting because I have all these different takes of the same sound and all that. And
Right.
kind of explore the project a bit and maybe resample the whole loop and cutting that up again and all that. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah,
so
I'm sorry for all
yeah,
the questions, man. I should just let
no,
you
it's cool.
I should just let you work, but I'm super curious.
Just need to get this math. So what I kind of use at times is the erosion because it kind of fills the waves with noise, I guess you could say. Um, then it should get in here. It's still very not. It's snappy enough, but it's not noisy. Also, something that kind of bothers me with the saturator is let's just overcompress this a bit. Yeah, that the tail you get there, right? Um, just so it's maybe kind of hard to see, but oh. So the saturator gives this like a saw tooth that pitches down. If it's compressed enough, I can just jump this up. You can see it here. Oh, it's super low. 2 seconds. This one, right? That's only the saturator that does this.
Wow.
And I don't know. I just began to start noticing it in my music. So now I sometimes it kind of spend way too much time to remove that sound because then I can hear it's the Ableton saturator, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess it could be pretty fun to use. It's just
And before you guys say anything, he's on Ableton Live 9, so you can't just be like, just throw a drum bus on it, because he doesn't have it.
what is drum bus?
It's a transient shaper that's a new plugin with Ableton Live, and basically it add some like really nice saturation and just subtle or extreme distortion to your well to whatever you throw it on. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Oh, I think uh, when you take on DC, it kind of it removes the pitch thing a bit, so it's harder to notice. Um, I'm still struggling with this one. When in doubt, resample it. Um, because then I can pitch it down, I guess. But it kind of changed the sound, I think. That's weird. It just got a lot lower. Oh no, it's probably fine.
Yeah, no worries, man. And I don't feel like you ever feel like this or whatever, but just in case, like, don't feel like you need to do something like amazing today either, because there's
Yes, I do.
no, don't, because it's more so just about like understanding these processes and how you work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's sometimes it can be really freaking hard to wing things. Um,
yeah,
I'm a prime
it
example of
definitely is.
that. So it's all good, man. I mean, you can spend as much time on it as you want, but just don't feel like obligated to be like, oh, this needs to be the coolest thing because you're on the spot and
Yeah.
we're on your side. You know.
So now I kind of turned it into anything but a snare. Or maybe not. Maybe this could be useful actually. Um, oh, I guess I know why everything I'm using is so low. It's because my master's turned all the way down.
Mm.
So if we layer this with this, like so the process of making one of my glitch tracks is super long because, for example, my uh, I made a bootleg of a clipping track. Um, Everything in that, all the nut vocals are sampled from my remix of uh, another track I made, which is also up on my SoundCloud, the Louis Kefian remix. And that was resampled from some heavy resampling from another glitch track that kind of sucked, which was resampled from another glitch track and all that.
Jeez.
Yeah, so sometimes it takes a long time before I kind of get something that I'm satisfied with. But I like the perfectionistic aspect of it.
I think it's a good thing to to acknowledge that too though because sometimes people only like I'm not gonna lie like myself that's why I rely on plugins so much is I'm like I only want to resample this maybe once or twice I don't want to I don't want to keep doing this but sometimes that's what it takes is
Yeah.
like you
Okay.
just got to keep
Yeah.
doing it and doing it and doing it back and
Yeah.
set up welcome back DTR.
Okay. So there's a oh, that shouldn't happen. Okay. So it's a very lo-fi snare now, I think. Um, but maybe I shouldn't make another piece on this. I could just do this. Oh, it maybe is way too small. That's silly. Okay. So away with that. Couldn't use it anyway. Oh, yes. Okay. So it kind of feels more like snare now, I think. Um, but it's still missing a bunch of EQ. Oh, and of course some art. Um, Sometimes it just fill the rag up with effects and then tweak from there.
Right.
Um, that kind of makes it a bit easier, I think. I want to cut the blend to. Oh,
Yeah.
that shouldn't.
That's the one.
Oh, okay, so it's super. That's a snare. I think that's fine for now. I think. Um, so we have our first proper snare. That's great.
Yeah, and if you guys are just catching up, he took one piece of percussion from one of the stems that I sent him, and then resampled it what 4 or 5
No,
times.
this this wasn't the percussion. This was this one over here.
Oh, right, it was already one of the other
Yeah,
kind of lower bassy things.
yeah. Um, but this percussion's pretty neat too. Uh, hmm. So I'm kind of just going all over the place, trying to make some sounds to combine later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it's rare that there is like a proper structure when when I'm producing. I think. Uh, oh, the, hmm. Another layering thing that I like to do is layering different warp modes. So like a repitch on top of a tones maybe, and it gives it something, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's cool.
Mm.
Right? Same. I was like, I never thought to layer in that way.
Kind of, yeah. It's pretty funny. You can get some weird sounds out of it. Um, or maybe just a bit more crunching with this one, like boosting that. And drag this one out to give like a break or something. I don't know. That's not a break. Uh, that's kind of glitchy already. That one. Also tend to just making small beat repeat kind of stuffs.
Yeah, it's cool that you kind of have this like comp editing style of processing this too. Because typically, like, I guess it wouldn't be considered comp editing, but like you're manipulating everything all on the same tracks because you're doing like these layers, right? But you're applying
Yeah,
the same kind of cuts to every single one as opposed to doing like a jigsaw or something.
yeah. Gets kind of tedious when it's 4 or 5 tracks at the same time, um, but yeah, that's when you probably should start resampling it.
Right? It's still really cool though.
Thanks. Um, so this part is kind of boring, I think. So we could maybe just find.
Feels like a super manual granulator. Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, super hands-on. That's a nice snare, actually. Hmm. Nope, that's exactly the same flip. That's a nice flip, I think. The problem with continuing to resampling the master is that if there's something that I don't manipulate that much after I've resampled it, I really need it to be mixed proper before I resample it. So that gives kind of an extra challenge on top of it, like keeping it all mixed properly throughout the process of making the track.
So that's a really interesting point, because a lot of people ask of like, whenever you're doing the resampling process, are you supposed to just kind of leave it as is, or do you try to, make it sound as good as you can beforehand? So I think like when taking these kinds of steps, being mindful about how it sounds from the get-go and trying to make that sample sound good on its own is a great way to kind of approach that problem.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so it feels like a lot. The strum sample there's like some reverb kind of stuff on it because it's recorded in a room, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that when resampling stuff like that, it gets super noisy easily, I think. Um, but this, let's just try it out.
Sorry,
Another,
just to clarify, you said that if something has typically a lot of room in it, it tends to be noisy when you resample it.
yeah, especially if it's like acoustic drums and all that. Um,
So
I
trying to
think,
be mindful of like maybe using more dry samples to try to preserve to try to keep things clean might be a better thing to try to do.
yeah, I generally uh, keep my samples super dry when in the first bits of the resampling process, because I know that I'll keep on resampling it. But
Mm-hmm.
a trick to kind of remove that noisy stuff is using the beat repeat preserve.
Yeah,
Not the, yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say like if something happens like that and you need to kind of control the tails, then you can just
yeah,
reapply the same beats mode.
yeah. So now I've kind of made it more tidy, kind of tidied it up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So now it's time to use some more distortion. Um, I've also been kind of addicted to using to grouping effects and making chains on top of each other and all that. Because it's really nice. For example, when you want to have some drums in a drum set like this, right?
Right.
But you want the kick to like punch more, but you want to use distortion, but don't want to distort everything. So then you could just make like this effect rack and EQ, throw in an EQ before the saturator on the one track where you only have the low
Right.
going on, and then you can like pass the mid and high through out around
Basically,
the saturator.
yeah, basically like a manual multiband distortion.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I haven't found anything. Yeah, there's multiband dynamics, but that's like a multiband compressor. There isn't. I don't think there is anything uh,
There is
remotely like a.
trash. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
mean you can definitely generate harmonics out of actually just using a compressor on each of those, but the distortion algorithm is different. So if you want something specific, then I think that that's definitely the way to go.
yeah. Okay, so I kind of got some more punch out of it. So it went from this to like this, which is step forward. Oh, you can hear uh, but now I think it's going too fast. I might just bump the beat, the tempo down to 100. Maybe 30.
Do you ever like do you actively avoid like the soft clipper on saturator and the glue compressor?
I haven't really played with it to be honest. But I read about something a way to make sine wave compression.
Hmm.
Is it called that? Um, like is it removing or putting on soft? I'm not sure. I
It'll
haven't played around with that
it'll
yet.
basically generate odd harmonics, and if you hit the soft clipper on, then it will never peak.
Oh, I like it peaking.
That's the best answer I think anybody could.
Oh yeah, another nice thing about using the Beats warp mode is when you have a set of drums in like 160 like I had before, you can just turn the tempo down without making them sound like this,
Right,
which is nice, which can be nice, but that's when you don't want it.
right.
Okay, so I like how this is going. I might just introduce the snare I made before. Not sure that it fits in, but okay. So what could we do here? Oh man. Uh, so this part when I'm trying to make like making the beat kind of varied because it was a pretty simple loop before. I haven't
Right.
even saved this one for later. Um, and it can be pretty. That's just trial and error basically. Um, but when I know that I want like a few silences here and there, I kind of try to squash the hits together in before the next fourth comes
Gotcha.
like that. And sometimes it isn't warped like perfectly. Um, like here, and those small bits of sounds can really make some nice clicky sounds. Um, which is always nice when making glitch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I also tend to use hold control down a lot when duplicating these small um, parts of the beat, just to make the repeats more organic and out of tempo. Um,
Cool.
You get these weird tones, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Like when when I'm only working on a beat, they work most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I introduce some other harmonic stuff, it might sound very much out of tune and all that. So I tend to go in and repeat if I've like consolidated this right, then I tend to go in and maybe just repeat it at some other frequency. Oh, that wasn't so good.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, and just playing around with it until it fits the tone. It's not very theoretical, but it works for me.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a way to generate some like interesting like variables.
Yeah, and yeah, it makes all this these micro edits sound unique because I don't. Yeah, I do everything like manually. It's not oh in this process I do so it's not like automated or something. Like if I had a beat repeat on and maybe control that with a an LFO, then it will always be either 16th or 8th. What's it called? It's not eighth notes. It's called divisions, I guess. Um,
Yeah, beat
but
divisions.
yeah, but doing it like this, it's very. I'm not sure how to explain it actually, but it gives another feel to the glitch stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on one end, it's very polyrhythmic,
Yeah.
and I think that this is actually cool and something that like this is a big thing that we can all take away because it's on such a micro level. It really like gives you like this really interesting shift. Like even just within this short minute of like silence of the kick and then going into the next like snare or sorry like kick pattern thing, like you already have this crazy movement that's happening just with you know 2 tracks. It's
Mm.
pretty cool. I'm a fan.
I'm glad to hear that. Um, it's I've been doing this for a while, like warping beats like this, but yeah, I haven't really made like this kind of glitch music for a long time. But I've always liked playing around with the samples and resampling and all that. Then I just found out that it's pretty nice to make glitch sounds with it. Uh,
Dude, you're like I said, this is gold, man.
so that could sound cool, but it's not that heavy. I kind of want to make it more heavy, but but I think the cuts are too much distance between them, maybe. Uh, but also it's like they should probably be like there,
Hmm.
but I just remove the first bit of.
When you get to
Uh,
like a point that like the everything is starting to come together, like do you even sidechain anything, or is everything just hitting at such like a different, or is everything kind of segmented in such its own space that it has its own room to breathe that you don't even like really worry about that?
um, I sidechain a lot
Oh, you
because
do?
yeah, I mean, a lot of time a lot of times I have a lot of different tracks playing on top of each other, where everything trying kind of try to like break through, but because there's so many sounds on it, I need to sidechain for example, everything to the beat or something. Or
Right.
maybe yeah, I can also overcompress everything because that also gives some sidechain action,
Yeah.
but that removes all of the dynamics. But yeah, that I kind of tend to resample afterwards to give more dynamics and throw the same beat on top of it and sidechaining that. Uh, but yeah, it's very just what I feel like doing.
Yeah,
Oh,
I guess the reason why I ask was because like you're kind of like using to me, like, this kind of sounds like a kick track, but has all these other different elements and stuff. Um, but it kind of just kind of led to the question of whether or not like you actually have a dedicated like kick and snare pattern or something. But from what it seems like, since you said that you have a lot of different side chains and stuff, like that's really interesting too. Of like, it's not, it's so unconventional, and that's why this is so interesting to me because you have such a different way of doing this.
That's very good to hear actually, because that's kind of what I try to do um, with the glitch music and all that. But I really like to have my own approach to producing these sounds and all that.
I mean, just
Um,
don't be upset when I steal all these ideas and then be like, "Look, man, this is what you
no,
taught
do
me."
it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Do it, please. This is too heavy again. I kind of want to make some um, have a difference between the heavy bits and the lighter bits and kind of morph them into each other.
Yeah.
And and I like the heavy bits to be on the hits, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the light bits like percussionish stuff in between. Um, so yeah,
Yo, what up, Nuance? Welcome. Thanks so much for the follow, man. Appreciate it.
also just let's make it a bit too much. Oh, I like to have like repeating thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to put down the tempo or slow down the tempo like this. Then I can put it there to put it there, I guess.
Doesn't this like
And
for like guys for chat? Doesn't this look like so much fun right now? Maybe it's just like my thing and like what I like doing with music, but I always tell people like this kind of stuff is my favorite thing to do. Of just chopping audio and then like creating like these new textures and rhythms and things.
yeah, I love doing this. It's awesome, kind of making a collage. I think.
Yeah, yeah, and it takes away the feel of like having to feel forced to actually like quote unquote make music. Like you can just like literally cut things and be like and place them.
Yeah, and I would like to do like repeat this with this one, and then I can throw the snare over here. I think. Then I'm doing this. I like it to snap to this one, so maybe like this.
Well, Steph, it's kind of therapeutic in a way. You always zone in hard whenever you're working on micro edits for texture. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. When what should we do with the last one here? All right, let's try this. I don't like the last part, but everything else sounds pretty tight. I think. Maybe do this. Also, a thing that is good to have. Oh, and how do I say this? Uh, a thing that is good to. I'm kind of stuck with the word here.
That's okay.
A habit. A habit. I
Have it.
got it. A good habit to have is when you want to reverse stuff, consolidate it first. Um, unless it's a track filled with effects, then resample it, because there's been countless times where I have this jam that is half an hour long. Then I just want to reverse like half a second of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I click reverse, and then I need to wait 5 minutes for it to reverse the whole track.
Right.
Um,
And
And I
then,
hate that. So
or like the other thing too is like if you have like a really long, sample or something, when you reverse it, it won't resample or it won't reverse the same spot. It will completely
yeah,
reverse the entire sample, so you'll lose that. I mean, you
yeah,
can you can undo, but that's definitely something to be aware of.
yeah. A good thing about it is that now that you reverse other parts in it, it doesn't take any time, but you can just consolidate it too. Um, oh, that's probably because of the, the heavy compression.
Jim, dude,
It's no problem, man.
I'm so sorry, dude. Oh, I was just telling them. I don't know if you were tuning in on the stream refresh or not, but there was just a small explosion down the street. I think a
Yeah, I
transformer
heard
blew
that.
up.
Shit. Uh,
Dude, this
that
dude,
sucks.
it's fucking pandemonium where I live. Um, yeah, like last time I had DMTR on, something similar happened, and man, okay, let's all knock on wood. Can I get a bless RNG in the chat? What the fuck? Yeah, it was just like boom.
Shit.
So calm. I'd be fucking stressing. Nah, man, there's no reason to stress. We're all okay. Um, there's much bigger fish to fry. But yeah, I am so sorry. I don't know what the last thing you said was. You were doing something really cool, and all of us were super captivated. Um, can you just give us like a brief summary about what just happened?
I don't know either, actually. I kind of turn my mind off when I do all these cuts.
Okay,
So
no
I have the
worries.
beat here, and I don't think that much has happened, actually. Yeah, I played around with this snare here. So yeah,
Cool.
I kind of fixed it in the meantime.
For sure. Okay, so basically he took a cut of mine and then started just turning it into lots of different things. He did some processing. He did like some layering techniques where he used the same group track, or he put everything in a group track, and then did the same cuts to all of those in the same area, but applied different warp modes to them all, which DMTR and I were just virtually looking at each other like, holy shit, I've never thought about this before. And then now we're basically, he's got a main snare, and then the thing on top is kind of like his thing that he's keeping with the rhythm. He was talking about how right now he's doing most of his cuts on a single audio channel, but he's trying to, for one, make sure that there's a little bit of space in between some of the hits, and then some of the little like micro cuts that he has, he's kind of throwing off grid to help create some of that complex tonalities that, or sorry, not tonalities, but complex rhythms that is pretty popular within this specific genre of music. Does that sound all accurate to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so now I kind of want to make a square bass. Square bass is the fundamental harsh bass sound I use at the moment. This one. Oh,
Beautiful.
it's so good. Okay. Okay, so this is going to sound like shit in the beginning, but bear with me. um, like you said, a notch filter is pretty neat to make a nice bass sound, and I also really like the ping pong filter, ping pong delay it's called. I just don't like that it's stereo, so I tend to just run a utility and mono it up, you know. Um, then some compressor because I don't have any layers without compressors yet, so why start now?
Fair enough. And I guess on that note, one thing that is important to kind of keep in mind to kind of help keep all of the sounds cohesive, which is a really important question I think that I myself forgot to ask, is that for one, almost on every like processing chain that he's done up to this point, he's done a combination of an OTT and or glue compression. So that
Yeah,
way
and
the
EQ.
NDQ. So
Yeah,
sorry, that way everything is kind of like processed in the same way, you know. So that way you don't have this like crazy like sounding thing that's like really soft, or it's not too there's not too much contrast in between all of the sounds that he's doing, I guess.
yeah. It kind of melts it all nicely together. Um, I tend to just compress the master, but I kind of didn't want to do that anymore because it was harder to control each individual sound.
Right.
So I've thrown an envelope follower on the the beat, and I've mapped that to the filter here, um, and it doesn't sound like anything, which is weird. Oh, because it's let's try it in here then. Okay, so that might be a bit too much.
So you use an envelope follower on this rhythm to generate your bass lines with this?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my god. Uh, oh shit, checkmate. That's really
Let's
fucking
just.
cool.
Oh, I don't want to record the MIDI. I can't use that for anything. Oh,
That is really freaking cool.
so it kind of loops like that. Um, uh, so yeah, another thing that because now it's just one tone, and I've already like played around with chopping stuff up and all that. So I'll just kind of use the same chops to chop this one up. Um, okay, oh, this one up here. And a way to do that is just throw on a gate. Um, then sidechain it to 4 group. Um, so yeah, it's weird how when a gate, no, when a group is muted or when a track is soloed and a group is playing some tracks, it doesn't output like you can see out here. So we can see the tracks playing and all that, but the group doesn't have any output, and that just affects the gates. So I need to put it on audio 5 or something. Neat. But I don't like how the envelope follower and the gate kind of follows each other.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I just turned the beat down for a minute to maybe 100. Then I'll resample this.
So just to clarify, the envelope follower is using the rhythm to manipulate the filter, and then
Yeah,
the gate is to use the same rhythm but to actually manipulate the volume, right?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
definitely. And now I've turned the beat down, so yeah, the filter doesn't follow the gate as it did before. So now it's kind of polyrhythmic for a brief moment. I think this could be good. It's kind of, yeah, again, a hit or miss. but but I'll play around with it. Okay, up to 130 again, because I like that tempo. This one you can mute it. This one too. Then we can quantize this. And now it kind of sounds a bit meh. First side chain. So now we have like this track I want to sidechain it to. But that would kind of make some problems because of all these. I don't want it to sidechain into this. So I'll just go ahead and make a ghost track. And just for fun, I'll use this. Maybe.
Yeah. So at this point, you'd create a ghost sidechain and have it basically chain against the specific points of the rhythm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I like this. This part here has a super heavy impact. I feel because it fades very little in, and then that kind of gives it a bigger smack, something, you know. So I'll kind of duplicate this down to the sidechain too, and then pump it up a bit. Yeah, then mute that. I always tend to have these sidechain tracks like stupid places, so I'll just put it here now when I remember it. So that's free audio. Okay, so now I can begin to chop this up. Maybe it's not even. When I make basses, it's kind of nice to make it in a too light tone or too high tone, because I like how many of the warp modes pitches sound down. It kind of makes it feel heavier than if you made it in that tone to begin with.
Interesting.
It needs some kind of it needs something.
Yes.
Again, we can try and make a chain with this, because I don't like how all the high ends come in. Still. I don't really like this. That would be cool.
Because you can separate the bands. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because EQ8 kind of still has a bit of the low end and high end. It doesn't cut all the way through.
There's still gonna be some crossover with EQ3, but I think the slope of it is going to be much more sharp as opposed to having a softer crossover on like an EQ8.
Yeah. I found out here when I was streaming a few days ago that if you do this, maybe you need this.
Yeah, you just created an all-pass filter.
Yeah, but okay.
So if you don't want to buy disperser, then you can use.
It still does something, you know. Kinda phase shift is they do this. Because I'm not sure exactly why. It was a guy on the Pitch That Cool Discord called Bloodunk that that showed me this. He's kind of an Ableton wizard.
Uh,
Um,
Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill.
He kind of was the one that I think first showed that on the internet, but
Oh,
except he used OTTs. But basically, what happens, because there's crossover on all of these plugins on the
yeah, it
OTT.
kind of amplifies that, right?
Yeah,
Or
and what
something.
happens is it shifts the phase a little bit. So each
Mm,
time you're shifting the phase with an EQ and then another EQ and then another EQ and another EQ, you're essentially creating like an all pass filter.
it's super silly, but I like it.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So this wasn't really what I was supposed to do, you know.
That's okay.
Um,
Dumb question, but what do I mean by an all pass filter? So an all pass filter basically filters out a phase in something, and that's what kind of gives it that kind of lasery sound, that pew 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 pew. That's basically just the characteristic of an all pass. If you look up kilohertz disperser, that's an actual dedicated all pass filter that you can kind of take a look at and compare to what he's doing. But that's essentially what it is.
so I made something here. It's probably going to be resampled a few times again because I really want to have that really scratchy, like distorted bass. But whoa, that's super loud.
Oh,
Let me just try to put it here. So here, here I played around with layering again with yeah, I had the beats on here and consolidated it, threw it down to another track, uh, and duplicated the or divided the tempo, no, duplicated the tempo, and put on tones to make some some of these kind of fade into each other.
mm-hmm.
I might try to reverse it. Okay, that's weird. Okay. Um, let's see. That's and okay. So I kind of resampled it with sidechain on, which can be nice because it gives more dynamics to it when chopping it up. Because yeah, we have some lower sounding clips.
Yeah, and it fits within the rhythm that you've already established.
Yeah. Okay, so I kind of want to chop this one up now. Just need to remember how the beat sounds. So what is new and what isn't? Oh, we need to keep track of this. Wait, we can just yeah, ghost and then put it on top. Because then we know that it's the first track. Okay. Oh,
Tight.
um, so I want to follow the beat, but not exactly. So you have these silences where it could be cool if there is silence in the bass, and I'll kind of see uh, one by one if that's what I want because maybe this one can sound better.
Yeah.
Um,
So when you're
yeah,
making this stuff too, though, generally like actually let me just say like in this particular case because you're already working on it. Are you not really worried about EQing out the low ends of the main rhythm versus your bass?
EQing out the low ones in the main.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
On audio track 8, because that should still have some
Eight.
like low end frequency, right?
The audio track 8 is muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant track 11.
Oh, um, I'm not at this stage. I'm not because right now I'm just playing around with the bass. But I tend to to sidechain the bass enough that the kick gets through.
Uh huh.
Um, I think because yeah, the low end is pretty heavy right now, but I just wanted to feel the bass while chopping it up.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
So by mistake I made a tone, and I guess we'll just go with it. Um, okay, so I'll just try and stretch it out and complex it. And oh, it's maybe a bit too much. So the way I've made the beat right now is that it is very much in focus, which kind of makes it hard to give bass some space. Space some space. Bass?
Space for your bass.
Yes. So what I'll do is let you duplicate this. Yeah. So we save the original beat for later, you know. Where did I put this? Hmm. Okay, so this part I could like stretch it like super much out. So we'll have then tones. That part was cool. Like this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'll stretch this one out too.
Yeah, this is sounding nuts, man.
Thanks. Uh, I want to stretch this one out. I think it will fit in complex. Hmm. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with complex because it's very easy to hear that it's complex
Right.
unless you like find some sweet spots. This just doesn't work.
I'm also curious as to like, once you get, let's say like a 16 bar groove or something going of like, that's why I'm really excited to listen to your EP because I'm curious to see like your song structure for how you lay everything out because it's atonal.
Yeah, um, I tend to uh, have every part kind of like to be its own,
Like phrases.
and phrases.
Yeah, like a phrase, like just a short like a short part or uh
Mm, like a bridge or something, or maybe I don't know. Everything is kind of like a C uh, part. Uh, I've had theory in Danish. It's kind of hard to translate some of it.
that's okay.
um,
Yeah. I'm trying to
but they
figure out.
have like A B A C B or something.
Okay,
Uh,
gotcha.
or yeah, kind of. But everything is kind of like its own, but it still fits the beat. So I might change the drums up a bit. Definitely the groove, and introduce new elements to the track. Um, for example, one of the tracks I sent into the last stream was had introduced. They're introduced like the main bass halfway through it, and then it built up to another drop with the bass, and kind of made it half tempo, I think. Just to then I chopped it up further and all that. So you can, I guess you can recognize the sounds, but they just sound different and are placed different. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah, I
definitely want
think.
to. If you're up for it, I definitely want to bring you back on here. Like once your like EP is done and you can like talk about like a finished product. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
because I mean, of course, like you're free. Everything that you're doing is freaking awesome, and I'm having a great time with this. But I don't want to keep you here for 6 hours. Because I could definitely probably do that and ask you billions and billions of questions. But it still would be really cool to look at like when it's ready of like an actual finished product and be like, all right, so the first thing that we did was right here, and now this is how we kind of expanded upon that and created something of that nature. But yeah, if you're ever open to that, I would love to. I think all of us would love to have you back on here. But this is so
Yeah,
cool, man.
definitely. I could open a track I'm working on and kind of show you how the process kind of looks like. If you'd be done with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really just kind of up to you and how much time you have and like how far you want to go into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't know. I my last yesterday I went to bed at 5 a.m. So I guess I have around 6 hours now. um,
Correct.
but yeah, I can open one of the tracks. Just so that's how it sounds now compared to. So yeah, the same technique. I've basically used the same technique here as I did down here. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely try to find a project file.
Cool. Yeah. And by the way, like thank you so much for, like showing us some of this stuff because as you can tell, like the way that you make your glitches versus like the stems that I sent you are obviously very different. Um
Yeah,
but having this like inspiration now and not feeling like I need to make, a ton of material, I can literally take, one or two of the elements of what I made for to send you and really kind of like go crazy and stuff. And the other thing that like really blows my mind is that you haven't really used any kind of like spatial effects or anything. Like it's all really dry
yeah.
and it still sounds really good.
I love the dryness of this glitch thing.
Yeah, do you ever
um,
like play with like spatial effects or something or
yeah, kind of in breaks, like having just turning on a reverb for like a fourth of a beat,
mhm.
and compress it like a lot to give this whoa, zoom out and then zoom in again right after. Kind of
Yeah.
makes the beat hit much harder, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
something that you might be interested that we've all been kind of experimenting with lately is like we've actually been making audio effect racks with return channels. So
oh,
so what
I never use the return channels.
yeah, me neither. I mean, I've always known about it, but as opposed to just sending like a single effect, you have whatever channel you're going to send into that effect rack on 100% wet, but all of the effects are turned down, and then you slowly introduce one or the other. So it basically creates like this cool like complex possibility with using different rooms or different room sizes and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
I don't know, it's something that I haven't refined yet, but it's definitely like a cool way to like try to explore something, you know.
yeah, that's cool. I do use the grouping of effects a lot, uh, but I don't know. Half a year ago, I didn't know it existed, so it's
Grouping
kind of
effects.
yeah. I'm also like when you open an effect, I found out here a month ago that you can right click on it and save as default preset.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so god damn
I
it.
know,
Uh,
right? It's those little things. That's definitely so. Like, there's this like multi effects channel that you can use in Bitwig that is a automatic frequency splitter that automatically has things split from a low, mid, and high for you. Um, so
that's cool.
like a thing that I do a lot on my bass processing is like I have like a high pass on my low channel, a band pass on my mid, and then a low pass on my high for like super complex filter movement, and that's definitely like a 10-minute time saver. So I never have to do that again.
That's cool. Um, I've heard a bit about Bitwig. I kind of wanted to try out Linux for a while, and I know Bitwig runs on Linux. Um, I think I know it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, but yeah, I just suck at learning new software. Um,
Honestly, like it's pretty transparent. It's not a one to one, but it definitely is like a sound designer's paradise because of the modulators that you can use on it and all that stuff. And
yeah.
it definitely kind of like changes your perspective a little bit from like solely working in audio. But at the same time, like I think I've made all of my best sounds in Bitwig.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
But yeah, you can download like the full thing with all of the content. You just can't save projects or export them, or you can reroute your audio if you want to do that
Uh,
instead.
yeah.
But the demo is unlimited, so it's the full shebang. So I would definitely like give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
might try it out.
but yeah, we're in Ableton right now, so that's a story for another time.
Okay. So I've kind of okay. um, I think it's so.
And we definitely agree, Nuon. Small workflow improvements definitely. Because sometimes it can get frustrating to perform the same task that you've done 50 times over, but it can also make you really lazy because it sometimes makes you forget like what you've done in the first place. So there's definitely a balance, in my opinion, to be had with that. Oh no!
Uh,
Oh, I thought I lost you for a sec. I was like, where'd you
oh no,
go?
sorry. I'm just focusing on finding this one track again. I've kind of moved some of my sound files around, which in retrospect is pretty stupid. Um, now I can't find my folder. Um, hmm, yeah. Oh, wrong folder. Okay, so I just need to find this one sound file.
No worries.
Then I'm good to go. Oh, I think I found it. I found the folder at least. In search. So this is the track I was talking about that I sent in for the track review. And yeah, the track I was looking for is another one I made a while ago. I can kind of bring it for you while we wait. Uh, it's called Pure Gravy, and oh shit, my hard disk is not feeling good at the moment.
Yeah, that's honestly like one of the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest issues of Ableton that I've run into is it losing the location of samples and like
Yeah.
if you work in synths and stuff, it's not really that big of a deal. But in this particular case, especially if you are using like a single audio source for multiple
Mm,
sounds, that could be like
yeah.
totally detrimental to your track or to your project file.
Yeah, I started working on a remix a while ago, before I spilled water into my old Mac, and I saved the hard disk and all that. But in the meantime, I've backed some of my files up on another hard disk that's in it, and now I can't find the vocal track for that remix. And the hard disk I saved all the files on is kind of it's pretty it's almost broken, or it's not almost broken, but I can't search on it, and a lot of yeah, it's just very sketchy actually. So I
Yeah.
can't find the vocal track, and now can't work on the remix anymore. uh,
Nuon, I've done that before in the past as well, and actually like even with doing like a collect all and save, I still sometimes get some of my samples and stuff missing. Granted, like I'm in Ableton Live 10 beta, but Bitwig has never had that issue unless if I actually delete the actual sound. But yeah,
yeah,
that's
okay.
kind of one of those things.
Yeah, I've tried to collect all and save too when moving project from one computer to another, but sometimes they're just files that are missing.
Right.
Okay, so the first the oh I can't. I'm not sure. Could you hear that?
Yeah, yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear it.
Okay. Cool. So this is it's not. I didn't
Well,
want to copy it. Okay, so this is a loop I made from some tape sampling. I really like cassette tapes. So everything here in this track is basically that, a synth and a beat, which is resampled. And it kind of just loops and changes a bit.
this is nuts.
Yeah, I kind of went a little overboard here, but I like it. Then it's kind of. So that's the source track for this track, which I just guess I'll call Pure Gravy. I don't know. Super loud. So this is so this is two tracks and this one down here. So wait, this is three tracks.
I'm not gonna lie, that was really cool, but I couldn't hear a word you were saying.
No, okay.
Yo,
I
thanks for the
couldn't I
follow,
couldn't
Stereo.
focus on talking either, so it might be best. So we have like I did in the other one. I have like few tracks here which are the same but with different warp modes and pitches. So this one is pitched one octave over these two, and then it's in beats, and then we have one in beats and one in repitch. And I found out that might have to turn this a bit more down. So when you this was pretty silly actually. So I had this sample here. I'm not sure where it is, but I quantized it, and then I set the warp mode to repitch. Then on top of that, I put another track, just duplicated it and set the warp mode to beats. So they are kind of the phases are kind of doing something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So this is like it sounds normally, and we're doing this all this. It makes some. It's very minor stuff, but it kind of gives that edge, I think.
Yeah.
And this part here, oh, I can show you where the sample actually is. So yeah, this is how my projects end up looking. All this, just a bunch of crap everywhere, you know. So we have the original track over here, and then I kind of tried to loop something and all that, and I'm not even sure what this is. Uh, yeah, I guess it was supposed to sound like this. So that's just sounds from that track. And then I oh yeah, right. So Will has made these granular simpler tricks. Made some tutorials with that. So I kind of just feed it in a part of the track and put on a chord and an arpeggiator just on random, just so it could throw out a bunch of random cuts and all that.
Right.
Then made the velocity random, so it gave kind of some dynamic space, and tried out an expression control. Um, yeah, yeah, it's just one big chaos here, but my idea was to make just some random sounds that I could chop up afterwards.
Right.
This is kind of the same way. I have a small side project where I try to make this very classic IDM with quick beats and just some soft melodies. And this is the way I make the beats, pretty much, like a hi-hat and a snare and a kick, and then just arpeggiate on random and fucking around with the rates and velocity and all that, and then chopping it up afterwards, because that kind of saves you the hassle of going through every step and thinking about, okay, should this be a kick or a snare, a hi-hat, or should it just be like silence?
Right.
And then you just find some parts that sounds nice and fit together well, and make a new track and throw a snare on top of them. Then yeah, you have a classic IDM beat, I guess. But this was basically, yeah, I resampled it over here. And this is the beat. I don't know where that's from, but that's the beat I use. Oh right, there's a groove here. So that's just me playing around with warp modes, and again the weird layering with the repitch and the beats. I remember that oh yeah, that's just me playing around with textures. Yeah, I can't find this.
Hey, it's all good. Like, it's cool to just see, like, because like you gave us a fraction of how you got to some of those places that you're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's very just like, okay, you work on the sound and maybe it sounds good or something. If it doesn't, well, you just try and make a new one. And the more you do that, the more of the sounds kind of end up fitting together.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the beat before I processed the hell out of it, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I tend to have a lot of these that are just on top of each other, and it is not all layering. It's just because I have this track and then I duplicate it, and then I screw around with it a bit and then duplicate it. Then it just a lot of samples just ends up on top of each other.
So once everything is together, like, do you have any kind of like I know that we covered it briefly, like during the individual track by track process, but once everything is kind of all together, do you have any like typical like mixing advice of like how to control everything, or how to kind of or what to keep in mind, anything to look out for, like any mistakes that you've run into that makes the sound like not necessarily work?
Um, Mainly, I focus a lot on bass overlapping, because I yeah it's a bit hard to explain, uh, but yeah, I just mainly sidechain the heavy bass parts to the kick. It's like a lot, so I don't have this muddy kind of sound where a bass doesn't fit quite quite with the kick. Um, but that's kind of, I don't know if that's common knowledge, but I've heard it a few other places. But I'm not really sure. I just tend to like compress. I think many of these groups here have a compressor on of some sorts, and then I play with equalize on the individual tracks. Kind of try to um, focus on different frequencies, but nothing too technical. It's very just it's a very organic process, I feel.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely seems that way, and it's just kind of I don't know. This is I honestly, man, like through all my years of doing glitch stuff, like I've never seen anything like some of the stuff that you've done today. So, um,
yep.
definitely like thanks so much for just like letting us have a piece of your insight because for anybody that's watching or anybody that watches this on YouTube, like if you take the time, like even for me, I'm already ready to. I mean, I have you right now, but I'm already thinking about like how I'm gonna go back and watch this a few times and be like, oh wait, what do you do right there? Oh wait, what do you do right there? Wait, what do you do right there? But yeah, there's so much like amazing knowledge and stuff, and I don't know, like I really like this kind of thing too. Like we've said it before, but for one, it's super liberating of not having to feel like you have to like quote unquote make music. You know, the other thing is
Hmm.
that you don't necessarily have to do like crazy sound design or try to like guess. You don't have to guess how to make a sound or you know what I mean, like fit your way in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just destroy it and you know here are some like kind of like not necessarily fully predictable, but somewhat like you know expected things that you can do. By the way, thank you, like Romeo, for your follow. I'm sorry I missed that. Um, but within all those things, like it's so cool. Like this is again one of the coolest things that I've seen within music, and one thing that I would like to try, or like one thing I would actually like to see you do. Not right now, but at some point is like take a piece of like actual music and see. I'm curious to see what she would do with something that is tonal. You know?
Yeah, I could try that at some point. That would be pretty cool. Um, yeah, but I think I really like doing remixes in this kind of style because you kind of just get a lot of sound served, and then I'll just play around with that. You know, I don't need to like dig around for some cool sound stuff or anything. Just okay, I have some sound here. Maybe I'll, oh, okay, this could be a kick or something, right? And then if there's a vocal, that kind of gives a whole new idea of the form of the track. Because do I want to keep the vocal, or do I want to chop it to bits, or do I want to do both, or maybe cut the verses or the choruses or something, right?
Right.
So uh, I really like the outside input that I get from using different samples and all that.
Right.
Uh,
It's super cool, man. If you don't mind me
Thanks.
asking, so like, um, I guess, I guess like when you work with other artists as far as like a collaboration, right? And you present something like this to them, like, cause I mean, obviously, like I sent you my stuff and saw how you totally like destroyed it and made it into something completely new. Which
Yeah,
thank you for doing that, by the way. That was really cool.
no props.
um,
It was
but
funny.
the other side to that is like if you send this off to somebody or like how I wonder how like the dynamic works because this is such a different way of designing music because like typically for me what I do is I design all my sounds with synths and processing and XYZ and then try to arrange it in such a way with like you know a sound design jam from like 5 minutes long and whatever
Hmm.
and it is kind of you know similar in that fashion
Yeah.
but yeah I don't know like how do you have any like um do you have any like insight on how your collaboration experience has been when you try to make something like this?
I'm not. I have a lot of planned collaborations, but I haven't really finished many of them. But the, I'm working on one right now, and then I've kind of finished another one. And the process have mainly just been me getting samples or sending a beat, and then they make some uh, some what's it called? Just some stems, and then send it back to me, and then I like have the final word.
Hmm.
But that's mainly how it's been right now, because I can't. It's pretty hard to send something like this back. I mean, I could boil it down to different steps or different stems, but like a stem with like this in it, it's just silly, I think. But I don't know. I'll have to try it out. But since many of the collaborations are for my album, I feel that it's uh, easier for me to like ask if I don't know. It's pretty weird
Yeah,
actually.
I know that's a hard question. So no
Yeah,
no worries, man. I you might get that from me a lot as you get to know me. I tend to ask like super open-ended, it depends questions
yeah.
that never
But
has a
it's super
concrete answer.
interesting actually. Uh,
um I'm also curious, like, was any of this taught to you, or did you pick this all up yourself, or like, what's your learning background like?
um, I started out in what seventh grade with like FL Studio and stock sounds and all that. Kind of wanted to make some Daft Punk music. Um, but then I got a launchpad and figured out, oh, you can't work with FL Studio, so I need to try this Ableton thing out. And then for a long time, I just made like MIDI music. Um, but it was really when I began talking to um, other musicians in my area and befriending them and all that. Because I got into a music collective where there were some insanely good guys. A guy called Zach Christ is like uh, he has this very wonky style of music, and it was very inspiring sitting and making music with him, and he showed me all different kinds of tips and tricks and all that. Um, but I don't know. I've mainly been into all this sample stuff, like from yeah, it uh, just came at the time. What? How do I say this? um, I don't know. It's just I figured out over time that it was really interesting to like go in and like um, play around with the different sounds and all that, like stretching them out. And I got introduced to resampling, which I figured I actually had done before, but I would like take this one and then export it and then find it out here and then drag it in.
Right.
But the fact that you could just make a resample track kind of blew my mind, and that really sparked the interest in resampling. Um,
Yeah, totally. It makes me kind of curious too. Like, I wonder, are there any kind of like features or like ideas of that you could think about that would enhance like your personal workflow of something? Like, don't not necessarily thinking of like an effect or a synth or something, but maybe just like a particular process. You know,
yeah,
like
fucking yeah, yeah, definitely. You have this transpose here. Why the fuck can I not put an LFO on that? And
yeah.
if I could automate the different warp modes, yeah, this right here, I know that I can like go in here and take transposition, modulation, and all that, but it's just not the same because what if I wanted to go from beats to tones to like complex in one beat and like have that loop or maybe have it generative so you
Mm.
have another input that kind of controls that or something like I did with the envelope follower on the bass. That's my biggest pet peeve with
That's really
with
interesting.
Ableton. Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, like that. So I'm in the midst of doing like a Bitway review right now for them, and that was one thing that I mentioned within like anything that's within, I would call it like the inspector, you know, because that's kind
mm,
of what it is in some way or
yeah,
another. But no DAW that I know of allows you to do any kind of automation within the inspector whatsoever, and that kind of like I think that is a major drawback because what
yeah,
if you wanted to automate like even like the BPM within that or something, you know, of the warp itself, and You can do
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
stretch on the time or like on the grid. I think FL lets you actually do that. Um,
Okay, that's cool.
but but yeah, like you can't really change any of the controls once they're set in that area, and I think that's like one major thing that you know, digital audio workstations need to catch up with. But of
Yeah,
course, like, you know, I'm not a programmer, so I don't know how challenging or how,
same.
yeah, but I definitely resonate with that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, today has been such an amazing learning experience for me, and I really appreciate everything, and I hope that you guys in the chat do too, and go watch this VOD. Is there anything else that you like want to show us?
I'll kind of show the space right here. Oh wait, I have. Okay, so we have the first part here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to go through this track actually. So this is super noisy, and I need to rework it a bit. Oh,
That was
and
cool.
yeah, okay. I have something here which is um. You remember like this sample in the beginning here? Oh, that that voice kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I looped that and exported it, and then I looped it again at a different tempo and a different pitch. Then I brought both of them into an app called SoundHack, which is like a 1990s music app. Um, and then you can kind of combine them and with a convolution algorithm, and then it made this, which is basically there are a lot of effects on it right now, but it's it's basically instant ambient, um, which is super cool, and I've used that a lot. Um, but then we have like this part with I'll just chop it up a bit. I actually made this part before this one, which is funny. And then we have the same vocal stuff here, but resampled a lot. I played a lot around with this part here. Like putting all kinds of gates and real auto pans and all that on. So I haven't really resampled this that much. I resampled it down here, but that just ended up controlling some parameters here, which is pretty funny. Then I have like this bass, yeah, here, which is also this is just an operator bass, like yeah, the other when I made the other track, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I kind of tried to make the other one the same as this one, but it just ended up sounding completely different.
Right.
um,
So, I'm sorry. I'm just wondering. So, like, typically, like within that same way that you showed us how you throw a bass line down, are the key ways that you kind of try to make that go or establish like a quote unquote baseline with that by using an envelope follower and then slide chaining to that main thing, to like a
I,
main thing? Because it doesn't seem like you have like a typical dedicated kick channel. It's like got a lot of other information on it. But at the same
hmm,
time, it's really interesting because that makes sense because you have different glitches on that same rhythm that you don't want the bass coming in on.
yeah, I really like having a beat that is very heavily percussion focused. Where a lot of the percussion are almost as heavy as the kick. I use that method I used in the beginning with like having walking as beats and quantizing it. Many a few tracks I've made um, there. Uh, 2 seconds. I've made the beats in that way. Where they just kind of roll on top of each other and have each hit has its own unique sound. And that
Yeah,
kind of makes the beats much more interesting, I think, um, because like this beat here is also a bit like that, but I really like some the the beats where the kicks that on 1 and 3 aren't really the same, but I
right.
still want them to feel the same, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, but I really like how organic it can get, and still keeping that really harsh digital sound of the glitches and cuts and all that. It's a very nice contrast, I think.
It really is, man. And like I said, like this resonates with me so much just because of how I've been making not only basses but also like really heavy percussion lately. But
Yeah,
it's also liberating because I don't feel like I need to have a separate kick that's a clean kick and snare for this. It can just be on a separate channel in its own right.
yeah.
And that kind of, I think honestly, like I think that is one of the biggest things with IDM slash, we'll just coin it together, IBM. um, trademark alchemy. Just kidding. But yeah, that's like, yo. So like, this is so crazy because I kid you not. Like, one of the biggest things I was talking about with my viewers and my community was like, I was like, man, I understand how to make glitches and stuff, but one thing that's really difficult to try to exemplify is how to make everything seem like it has such a more dense means of push and pull. And
Yeah.
watching this today, like you pretty much answered that question. And I yeah, I hope that you don't mind down the line if I ask you more questions and stuff. But like, yo,
No,
like
and please do that. That would be that would be cool.
you really set like so much stuff off for this, and I think that I've have you okay. So have you listened to Kage at all?
Kanye?
Uh huh.
I don't think so.
So I'll send you a song from him after we hop off, but
Yeah,
I almost feel like, for one, a lot of the stuff that you're doing is very resonant with his. But I think that like you'll immediately hear a lot of the same things that you're doing in his music, and that's like,
cool.
I don't know, it's almost like weird. 'Cause, yeah, man. But that's super cool, and yeah, it's yeah,
Awesome.
the application stuff on this is just really really amazing, and yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so inspired to make music. I'm definitely gonna probably be making music later tonight when I get home. I just got a message from my grandmother. She's like, "Yeah, we're about to be quarantined. All businesses are getting ready to shut down for a week, where they're gonna send out the National Guard." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm gonna be making tunes."
But yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been making a lot of music lately because sometimes I kind of that's it's kind of sad because my left ear kind of fucks sometimes. So a lot of the sound I hear kind of gets pushed to the right,
hmm
and that comes and goes. Luckily, it's not something that is constant, but it kind of makes it hard to make music sometimes,
Yeah,
and it's kind of scary, um,
yeah, totally.
because it's super harsh that music I make, so it's very noisy and all that, but and also sometimes it's just super hard for me to like get get in the rhythm, you know. Um,
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that like I said, if you watch any of my streams, because again, the like what we're doing is very similar. Well, obviously, you saw what I sent you. Um,
yeah,
but sometimes like that's something that I've been talking about with my viewers too, about like finding something to have this kind of connection with, or whatever. But I wonder if there is like a best of both worlds of like having maybe one particular musical idea and then taking that and totally like destroying and manipulating it in the same ways that you have as well. And also, like, I'm just throwing this out there, but if you ever want to do a project together, not putting any pressure on you, but if you ever want to do something like
no,
that,
I definitely do that.
please,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
please. No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
super down with collaborating at the moment. That also really helps. That's kind of um, pushing yourself to make music, right?
Yeah.
Um, like I mentioned earlier, getting some sounds that you can like manipulate and all that kind of helps you begin a new project and all that. Um,
Right. Yeah. And well, cool, man. I mean, that's pretty much what I do all the time. Is I don't really even make music anymore. I just make sounds, and I'm like, I've been fighting this like creative block for like a year and a half, and
oh shit!
I know, but I've learned so much. I just haven't been able to put it all together to where it makes sense. So like, this is another really big stepping stone for me. Of I know, like I'm totally being selfish right now. I don't care. Big stepping
I
stone
glad I
for
could help.
yeah, yeah, it's totally. So thanks so much, man. Um, but yeah, I think that I'm actually gonna head to my grandma's here in a bit. I
Yeah.
have a couple more questions for you. First off, again, thank you. But are there any artists or anybody that you want to shout out that you want us to be aware of or look out for?
I kind of want to shout out the whole glitch.cool community, um, because it's filled with super cool glitch artists, and they've really helped me like exploring this glitch sound. Also,
Yeah.
Volk's Discord is also pretty cool. Um,
Can you throw Will's Discord up? I'm gonna throw that Discord invitation that you sent to me. Oh wait, it's not there anymore. Where is it? Can you? Would you mind throwing a couple links in the chat for him? Romeo's already on Wolgs.
yeah,
No, the Discord Romeo, if you can.
but yeah, that's super cool. And then yeah, I kind of like my uh, this whole electronic music scene here in Denmark. Um, we have some pretty insane artists. Definitely check out Zach Christ. He's like the master of funk music. It's fucking amazing. And yeah,
How do you spell that?
I can post in this chat.
Yeah, I forgot that it might his name might be written in Danish, so that might not be easy to
No,
spell.
it's in English.
Oh, it is in English.
Yeah,
Zach Christ. Cool.
yeah,
All right, we'll look him up on SoundCloud and stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's also called Unit 103 now. I think he hasn't really pushed out any music the last few years, sadly. Um, but all everything that is online with his sounds are fucking otherworldly. It's
cool,
crazy.
man. That sounds awesome. Um, Speaking of, like, did you have any questions for me about anything, or I
Not
was
sure. I haven't really had time to think about questions.
I know. I told you before the podcast. I'm like, I might ask you things that you might not be prepared for, but that's all good.
It's
And
super fun. It was really interesting. Haven't tried this before, so
yeah,
that's nice. Yeah,
honestly, man, like again, like I can't tell you how grateful I am for you to come on here and do this. And maybe part of it is just my personality, but at the same time, like honestly, like I don't think that I'm gonna ever be that person that like blows up or gets big with music and all that. But you're definitely an artist that has something incredibly unique, and so I kind of just wanted to try to give you a little bit of time
yeah,
to give you the producer spotlight and just allow you to show us like what you do, because I think that it's a really good thing. And honestly, like I think it's a little bit ahead of our time, to be honest. I don't think that like it's gonna be one of those things that people are gonna look at like 3 years down the road and be like, "Oh my god!" But that's what I
that's
do.
the dream.
Yeah, that's what I do. Is I take smaller, or I try to look at smaller artists and really try to just you know brag about them for a bit, but really
Yeah,
ask them and pick their brain, because I think that's how we're all gonna get better together.
yeah. Thanks. Oh, another shout out. I that's kind of silly, but I have another project which I've been releasing like what that's 2 albums, 3 albums, and an EP or two, called Health. Um, I'll post it in the chat if you want to listen to some kind of complex music, but super organic and melodic, and yeah, a whole other world. You could check my other project out. Just
Yeah,
kind of
definitely. Is this on SoundCloud?
yeah, it's on SoundCloud and Spotify too.
Awesome. Yeah. I wish I would have known about that, because I would have linked everybody to that kind of thing too. Yeah, I'll go find you right now. There was one more thing I was going to ask you about. Crap, I can't remember.
Bring it.
I'm trying to think about it. Yeah. Is this something that would maybe want to do in the future? Yo, oh yeah, you also do lessons, don't you?
No, I haven't
No,
done that before.
you haven't done that before. Why?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But I just set up a YouTube account today. So I'll make some more videos. I've uploaded one video um, which explores this convolution stuff. Um, I'll just find this channel here. But I don't talk in these videos because that would just take like fucking a week to make a video. But I can spit one out in 2 days if I just
If you just
uh,
do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and
Sh-
cut it all together. So the video I've uploaded is like an hour long, but it shows the process of me making an ambient track. Oh shit, tongue twister, an ambient track. Wow,
Cool. Yeah.
that
And
was hard to say.
I'll also be sure to throw another link in the Discord. You have a producer takeover video with Wolg on his channel of you
Yeah,
doing like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're generating all the sounds from scratch.
yeah, that's just internal feedback. I can show you. It's I made it with this plugin, and I have. Oh no, I can't show you that because I need to change this.
No, no worries. What's it called? I mean,
Mhm.
you've already got it recorded. Not that I'm not
Yeah.
interested. That's not what I'm getting at all. Just saying, like, don't worry about it. But yeah, the feel free to join our Discord. I really brag about the community. Like, we're freaking, those guys are just the nicest people ever, man. And I'm glad that I found you as well because you seem like a really amazing person, and I would just want you to know how grateful I am to have you on here.
Thanks, man.
Um,
This is just a super nice opportunity you've given me, and
yeah,
I'm really honored, man. It's fucking
I'm
super nice.
honestly, I'm just a dude that's really interested in what you do. And so, and you know, it'll be cool to kind of throw this up on YouTube as well. I have a much larger following on YouTube than I do on Twitch, but you know, we're all growing together. But yeah, I remembered the last thing I wanted to ask you about, which is when can we expect your actual like your main projects and stuff that you're working on to kind of come out? And
Um, Not sure actually, but I think that I should be able to make an EP during this year.
this year,
Um, yeah, hopefully. It might even get on vinyl, which is pretty neat.
that is neat. That is neat.
Yeah,
And, you know, you can't rush artistry, but I say that just as like as anticipation, you know, because like I said, I really like your music, and I think that the people that are going to be exposed to this are really going to be interested in following you as an artist too. So hopefully we'll get you some exposure and you know just
yeah, awesome.
put you on the map, man, because you do cool stuff.
Thanks.
Right
But
on,
yeah,
man.
that would be super cool. And I definitely come on here again when I have some more stuff to show you.
Yeah, anytime, anytime. I pretty much I stream 5 days a week. That's getting ready to change here in a bit. Not dropping any bombs, but just because stuff is changing and life is kind of crazy right now. But anytime you're available, or anytime you want to show us something cool, or you just want to hop on stream with me and kind of, if you want to do something together, like everything is open and on the table. I'm literally my role within the music community, aside from me trying to be my own producer, is to just be a hub for artists and musicians to get together and exchange information. So,
Awesome.
you
That's
know,
super cool initiative.
yeah, yeah, and you're always welcome into that. But yeah, man, thanks again. You're freaking awesome. I'm getting ready to go head out to my grandmother's, but thank you, and this will be up on YouTube probably sometime in the next few days, if that's okay.
Cool.
And then I'll definitely like send you a link and then put all of your social media stuff in the question. Before we head out, does anybody in the chat have any like final questions for him?
I just posted my YouTube account.
Yeah, I'll go sub like right
Self
now.
promo.
Promo, exactly. That's what this is.
It's awesome.
um, anybody? I'll wait like 30 seconds.
Okay.
You gotta get on those blazing fingers and type fast. um, cool. Nope.
Nope.
Awesome. I hope you
That
guys,
settles it.
right? I hope you guys had just as much fun as I did today talking about all this stuff. It was like, do you only produce with live?
Yeah, I, as I said earlier, I use some external software to generate some convolution sounds, but that you can check out in that video on my channel. But yeah, only Ableton.
Only
I love
Ableton, huh?
Ableton. I'm a super fanboy of Ableton.
Dope, man. Yeah, it definitely was an amazing stream. I can't tell you how much I've learned today and like how many cool like little tricks and stuff that you showed us. You've
Awesome.
I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, if you know if you're streaming or not, but if you want to come into my channel and watch me try to recreate some of this stuff, you're more than
Yeah.
welcome to. It like feel free to scold me and tell me what I'm doing wrong. But there definitely will be a continuation because I'm super inspired, and I that I owe you a big thanks for that.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, thanks again. You're freaking awesome. It was so nice meeting you and having you on here, and I guess I'll catch you soon.
Yeah. It
Alrighty.
was, yeah, super cool.
Yeah, for sure. Right on, man. I'm gonna hop off the call and chat. Thank you guys so much for joining me today as well. You guys be safe because we're getting ready to go on this crazy lockdown thing with the National Guard and stuff. So we better go get prepared, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess those of you who are in the U.S. and everybody else, make sure that you're washing your hands and stuff and all that good things. But much love to you all, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
I'll see you later too, Jim. Thanks again. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I'm kind of lost for words, to be honest. It was super cool that you wanted to have me on here.
Absolutely,
Um,
man. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. Like this is big for me. So yeah. All right.
Awesome.
I better run. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye.